Thank you for being with us, Donald.
Good to be with you, Gene. How are you?
Super. All right, Don, I got a couple questions, and I think I know the answer. It's been a while since we've been together, several months. Where do you think we are at now in our nation? Where do you believe we are? Are we on the rebound yet, or are we going the other direction?
Well, I think we're at a flashpoint. I had to throw in a little plug for you guys in there, but no, we really are. I mean, when you think about it, the Taliban is in charge of Afghanistan. We spent 20 years, countless lives, $2 trillion to end up where the Taliban can stroll into Kabul and take it over within a few minutes, and they're in control. Joe Biden wanted to extend the deadline for getting America out so that we could rescue trapped civilian citizens of America in Afghanistan. The Taliban says, no, there will be no extension. I mean, the Taliban is in the driver's seat, and Joe Biden's incompetence put them there. He had to change my father's plan around. And again, I'm not advocating to stay in Afghanistan by any means, but the way he did it, he wanted to make it his own. He wanted to delay so that he could have a photo op for September 11th, like the Kamala Harris photo op at the border, 1,000 miles away from the border. This is what they do. So they had to change what was existing, but they put it into the fighting season. The Taliban strolled into Kabul. It was over. They control our embassy. On July 8th, Joe Biden said, under no circumstances will this be like Saigon. And yet, if you look at the clips, you look at the videos side by side, it's exactly like that, except it's worse. Because now we have between 10 and 40,000 Americans trapped. They say, go to the airport, though we can't guarantee your safety. The Taliban surround the airport. They don't let anyone in. They're beating women in the streets for the crime of traveling unaccompanied by a male. I mean, this happened on his watch. He changed a plan to make it his own, and now he owns it. More importantly, as this is going on, Gene, as the world burns, Joe Biden is on vacation.
Right.
His press secretary is on vacation. His VP, I don't know if she was on vacation, but she was certainly nowhere to be found. She went to the other Saigon, the original Saigon, but not the one that's occurring under their watch, probably for another photo op. I mean, this is what's going on. When you're in the real world, when you're supposed to be a big boy, remember, we've been told, we want the adults back in the White House. Well, adults, when 40,000, up to 40,000 Americans are trapped in what I call perhaps the largest hostage situation anywhere in the world, at any time, when that happens, you show up to work, even if you're on vacation. You don't continue your vacation. You get back to the office. They're incapable of even thinking this way. That's one of many humanitarian crises that they're overseeing. You obviously have the crisis at the border. You have what's going on economically. You have what's going to be rampant inflation. It's already probably there, but I don't want to say it's fully there yet because I imagine it's going to get significantly worse before it gets better. And now we're only in the first 7 months of the Biden presidency. What do you think he could do with the next 41? It's scary. It's really scary, Gene.
It is scary. Well, I want to ask you a question. Do you think it just all seems to be a bit bizarre? Do you believe that Joe Biden was that inept to not think this would cause a problem, to remove air support and then do an early withdrawal and leave the Afghans exposed like that?
I actually do. I think if you listen to him speak, if you see him try to walk up a flight of stairs, and again, not to make light of people who are elderly, it happens. We're all going to get there someday. Hopefully. I just wouldn't necessarily want those people to have the nuclear football. So I do think he was that inept. And if it's not him making the decisions, because it may not be, his team is that inept. But that's what happens, when you have a team. They assembled the most diverse cabinet in history. They were very clear to point all of that out. It seemed like it was more about creating diversity than it was about actually instilling competent people in those positions. We've sort of seen them do that. Let's just check some boxes. Competency. Hey, don't worry. You got diversity. It doesn't really matter if we're competent. This is the thought process of the Democrat Party. They got to check those boxes before they actually deal with the severity of the situation at hand. Same at the border, same in just about everything. And so I did think it was going to be that bad. It's maybe not this bad because this is bordering on all he has to do is nothing. Maybe I shouldn't complain about him being on vacation because maybe if he was in the office, it could only get worse. Maybe leave them on vacation at this point. But, this is what's going on. I mean, they can't guarantee the safety. How come the British SAS is on the ground doing rescue missions back and forth, pulling their civilians out? Same with the French. The French are there, but the U.S. is not capable of it. The Germans are there doing the same, rescue missions, getting their people out. The U.S. is not capable of it. Well, guess what? The U.S. is capable of it. We don't have the will. We don't have the resolve. We don't have people that will make the tough call to say, hey, we got to get our citizens out. Instead, we're going to say, okay, well, maybe we can have an extension. Please, Mr. Taliban, can we have a little extension? No, you will not. Oh, so I have a feeling the Taliban red line is not like the Obama red line.
Right.
The Obama red line meant nothing. He drew one, they stepped across and slapped them in the face on a world stage. The world watched us get emasculated on a world stage, on a global stage, and they drew another red line and then they rinse and repeat.
Right.
Unfortunately, the Taliban means business, and they've totally outplayed Joe Biden and his pathetic administration every step of the way. We have generals that are more worried about teaching critical race theory and making sure diversity classes are in there as we're teaching. So instead of teaching them to shoot, we're going to do diversity classes because that's going to make us, in a quote, a stronger fighting force.
Right.
Now, no one with a brain, Gene, actually believes that.
That's correct. You're
but
right.
Again, our woke generals, they get ahead, not by being good war fighters, right? But by being the best bureaucrats. We promote the best bureaucrats. It has nothing to do with their competency on a battlefield or training. I have friends in the SEAL teams that tell me they spend more time on diversity training than they do shooting.
Right.
Do you think that's because of conservatives, or do you think that's because of the liberal agenda that has taken over every institution in America at the highest level? Again, I want to make a distinction.
All right.
Same with the FBI, same with the CIA, right? When they're doing the beautiful videos, the recruitment videos about the nice girl from California with, 12 moms, and you can't make this stuff up anymore. They're trying so hard. The door kickers are looking at this totally embarrassed. The guys doing the actual work are disgusted, and they tell me this on a regular basis, whether it's the FBI, which has been taken over, the CIA, which has been taken over, and especially the military, which has been taken over. They tell me this. Imagine someone from the SEALs coming and saying, yeah, man, we spend more time doing diversity training than we do like shooting, preparing to kill bad guys. And they're not lying. It's true, and you see it in every action. While the world is watching and laughing at us. China is laughing at us. Russia is laughing at us. And by the way, our allies are also watching. They're not laughing. They're petrified because they know that if something happens, the U.S. is not likely to be there. Our currency as a force for good has been so greatly diminished by this level of incompetence, by this level of abandonment of our allies and our own citizens to a terrorist regime. You can't make it up anymore.
No,
you really can't, Gene. It's disgusting.
You can't. All right, in our last few minutes here, Don, I want to talk about, you reposted, you retweeted this post from the Daily Mail, and I'll read the headlines. Bin Laden wanted to kill Obama because he thought Joe Biden was totally unprepared to be president and would plunge the U.S. into a crisis, declassified documents show.
Yeah.
What doesn't make any sense to me, Don, is why. I mean, we're not the only ones that knew this. We're not the only ones that see this. Those in Washington just decided to let it go.
Yeah, that was a chapter in my book, Liberal Privilege. Right. I wrote about this before the election. This isn't, it was declassified 10 years after the Bin Laden raid. But in the Bin Laden raid, my friend Rob O'Neill, who shot Bin Laden in the face, they gathered this document. And it was literally a plan. They wanted to assassinate Obama because they knew, and everyone in D.C. knows, Joe Biden is literally known as being the dumbest person in Congress for decades. He didn't just become dumb. He's always been dumb. But they could sell him as, it's blue-collar Joe. 50 years in D.C., but he's blue-collar Joe. No one believes this stuff, but they could sell it, and they'd sell it hard with a straight face. But Osama bin Laden wanted to assassinate Obama to put Joe Biden in charge. Like I said, I wrote about it in Liberal Privilege because I was like, are you serious? The Democrat nominee at the time and now president of the United States is the guy that Osama bin Laden himself wanted to instill as president of the United States because that in and of itself, Gene, would be destructive to America. I mean, hey, He got his wish, and guess what? He was right, because it's turning out to be 100% true. He called it 15 years ago.
Yes, true. It's interesting to me. Your dad was just in Cullman, Alabama. Now, I've actually been to Cullman, Alabama. It's not somewhere you're going to stop on your way somewhere. It's not a tourist stop. Yet, as I look as the rest of the world did, it looked like tens of, I never heard an accurate number, but it looks like tens of thousands of people. I had not a mask in sight, and you would have thought this was 2019, 2020 during a campaign stop. I mean, it was an amazing turnout and support for the president.
Yeah, I heard up to 62,000 people showed up. And again, it's, sort of in the middle of nowhere. And the reality is this: the support is still there. People are getting it. So those who were Trump believers get it. Those who perhaps don't follow the news, didn't read my book, didn't see the small group of people that were like, no, seriously, Joe Biden's the dumbest guy in D.C. The media ran cover for them between social media, covering up the Hunter Biden stuff, covering up Joe's incompetence, quashing stories like that, making sure you only see what, Wikipedia tells you. It's the leftist dream account of anything that could possibly happen. They made sure to run full cover. So those who were for Trump are more for Trump now than they've ever been before. And those that weren't sure or stayed uninvolved or didn't want to get involved in politics, they realize how badly they've been lied to. They realize they've been duped by the Democrats, by social media, and the mainstream media, who are functioning simply as the marketing department of the Democrats. They realize it now, and they see their country slipping away. When you abandon up to 40,000 American citizens in a terrorist-controlled country, and it's like, okay, well, Taliban said we can't go back in, so you're on your own, folks. I mean, that tells us something. I mean, these are the same people. They spent a lot of time negotiating to get back a traitor like Bo Bergdahl from the Taliban, cost American lives, and that was wonderful. But we're not going to – so we go back in to get a traitor, and we'll lose American lives to do so. But we're going to do nothing to rescue innocent American civilians trapped behind terrorist enemy lines? I mean, are we kidding? Like, this is not the America that I know and love. It certainly isn't, and it's not for them either. And Gene, they are watching, and they are upset about it.
They are, and you're right. There's President Trump probably has more support than he did going into the election, and he had resounding. I mean, we know that, and we'll see what happens as Arizona falls and the rest of the states fall to these audits that are proving what the rest of us have known all along. Well, thank you, Don, for being on. Listen, I want to remind you, if you haven't read Don Jr.'s book, Liberal Privilege, it's really quite interesting. You need to go back and look at it. You can find all of his resources at donjr.com. Encourage you to read it. Don't buy it from the A-word list. Buy it from him direct, okay? All right, thank you, Don. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks. Be well.